It is indeed a very, very good evening to you. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. It is a very good evening from Nairobi. Thank you for joining us tonight. It is the 26th of February 2023. Tarehe ni 26 mwezi ni wa pili mwaka 2023. I'm doing well. This is men only. This is men only. Disclaimer again, this is a show for men. So, wamama na wasichana tafadhali mulale, this is men only. And we are, kama kawaida tuko na Jacob Aliet na pia tuko na Silas Nyanchwani. These are two hotters. I'm the only person who has not written anything, but I'll start writing also very soon. Taanza kuandika hata kama ni composition. Jacob Aliet is the author of Unplugged, and Silas Nyanchwani has done 3 books. Ni mbona unataka kuleta ingine tena?
Memo volume 2. I have like 5 books coming up.
5?
Yeah.
That's a challenge then. For me, hata mimi nafaa niandike kamoja hata kama ni kuandika nusu. Ndio nianza kusema in my book.
Yeah.
Good evening, Jacob.
Good evening to you.
Wewe unaleta version nyingine lini tena?
Naleta kama June July thereabouts.
June July.
Yeah, Unplugged nataka kwanza is spread kidogo, kuna mali there are places it has not arrived.
The guys have not unplugged.
Yes, they have not unplugged. Nataka unplug vizuri, then the second version now is going to be now upgrading to the next level.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Haya. Asante sana. Thuku muita coming in. Asante sana Moses Jigitao. Good evening gentlemen. Tumefika class. Asante. Charles Adola here too. Asante. Judith tafadhali lala. Anasema Judith Chepkemba timulale. Anasema timulale. Wamesema hata nao kuna sons. We have sons. That's what you do. Pea simu kijana. Angalie. Yes, but if you think the convention can be helpful as well, please karibu. Adebia lakini tunataka kusisitiza ya kwamba ni ya wanaume. Alright. Please join me, please like when you like, we get to know that you're watching us, and that like please share. When you share, you give someone else an opportunity to watch the broadcast. When you join in, please like when you like, we get to know that you're watching us, and that like please share. When you share, you give someone else an opportunity to watch the broadcast. Alright. Saila. Habari ya jioni.
Nzuri bana.
What's new? What has been kicking?
It's just the football season, and as an Arsenal fan, we're watching the Premier League keenly to see that we don't lose it. So,
angushwa kutoka juu ya meza.
No, we are back to our winning ways, and yeah.
Any news, anything new that you've seen on the streets? Sasa nasikia karibu natoka soko. Very risky business. Reliable sources.
Bado tujamaliza kazi. We have to unplug all the men. Ndio sasa tutoka kwa soko.
Okay.
Until the last man has been liberated.
All right, Jacob, good evening.
Good evening bwana.
Haya, what's new? Nasikia nini huko nje?
Tuko tu tunangangana. I can see we have a few shake-ups in the parastatals naendelea. Lakini ni sawa so far. Economy pia imeshika, jua inawaka, but we are hoping for the best. Mvua inyeshe very soon.
Lakini mvua imenyesha. It rained, I think it rained in South Rift. It has rained in Western Kenya. It rained for the 3rd day now. I think in South
very
Rift.
Good. That is good news.
Yeah.
So there is hope.
Yeah, there is hope.
Itakuja huko pia.
Western pia ni kama kumenyesha kidogo. So yeah.
That is very good.
Something could be happening very soon. Niliona unga pia ilishuka bei. Na kulikuwa pia na combination ya soda na ugali. Kumbe siku hizi ugali kanaweza songa sana na coke.
Very nice combination.
Right. So we'll start off as well. If there's anything that you want us to also speak about, please send it to us. If there's anything that you want us to discuss this evening, please put it in the comment section. Alafu tujue namna gani. Charles, just good to see you. Judith, happy to be in with my copper. Karibu sana Judith. Lakini Judith, you're watching on behalf of the Sons. Sawa. Moses Jigitao. Ngato David Hamamushwa Santa na Paul Kibiego tuned in. Asante Mwangi wa Maina here too. Stephen Dungo anasema Gerald Bitok na check pin on camera ziko clear. Kabisa. Round hii mwaka ni nyingine. Randich J, good evening sir, following from Langata. Asante sana. Titus Ombeta ako tuned in. Alright gentlemen, last week the County. There was a documentary that was done by BBC, and it was about sex for work. And some men were exposed that they are exchanging, or they're asking women for sex to give them favors, give them job opportunities, or better treatment at work. Unaambiwa kama unataka kupewa kazi rahisi soft lazima ufanye namna hiyo. Leo na jamaa alikuwa anasema you are an adult, toa nguo. So there has been an outcry across the country. I saw also the governor came out hot on heels, and he really spoke on that issue of Kericho and Finlays. Anyway, just to avoid mentioning brands as well or anything, because it could be costly on that hand. It could be damaging to them because we are not really a legal space. But anyway, the whole conversation around men and sex, and men extorting sex from women for opportunities or favors. That all market and conversation of that. What are your thoughts? Did you watch the documentary, Silas?
Yeah, I think I watched it and it was quite unfortunate. And it's sad that has been going on for so long and nothing has ever been done. And basically you have really to pity poor women or just poor people and how they're exploited. And for women now, there's always that problem of sexual exploitation. And basically, it's men who are just misusing their power. And when you have power, then you go for the most vulnerable. So I think that was wrong. But what has been worrying me is that it's so quiet, like nobody's complaining. Like we've not seen like a big outcry out of this, compared to like if it was a middle class woman, or like you saw last year when there was this lady at is it Forest Road who was attacked by the border. Yes. You saw like the whole country swung into action. Those borders were struck down. Even the president had to chip in to ensure that doesn't happen. But in time, the conversation is around poor women who are being exploited, whether it's those at the Lake Victoria with fishermen in Kericho or in Mombasa. You don't tend to see the same outcry, So that really shows that we have to do slightly better. Yeah.
Okay. What are your thoughts, Jacob, on that? Did you watch the documentary?
No, I didn't watch the documentary, but I've heard people talk about it. And I think this is one of the things that I talk about in my book. It's about low-value men. And now, when you put low-value men in positions of power, then they use their positions to extort sex from women who are vulnerable. And this is part of the behavior that we are trying to encourage. And the unfortunate thing, of course, is that this kind of individuals who are doing this, they lack self-awareness. They're not able to see or appreciate how much they're actually acting against their own best interests. Because in the long term, no good can come out of this. I think even though not much has happened, I want to believe that the arms of government that are responsible are going to actually take action to bring this to a stop. But this is something that a number of times men have done in the past. And I think the most important thing here is just for the rule of law to rein in and to be able to stop this kind of behavior. But as men also, we need to have conversations because so many women have also complained to me, telling me that I probably need to talk about this. I know of so many women who complain about being harassed at work, educated women, and sometimes it's a very, very difficult thing to address. And at the same time also, we also realize that in many cases, when women also came into the workplace, it introduced a different dynamic in the workplace. People, for example, you can use a wedding ring to indicate that you are married. And there are women who are married but they don't wear wedding rings. Or women who are married but to get the attention of men, they dress provocatively. So you'll find also situations where when a man approaches a woman, if he's a man who is not very attractive or who has a lot of resources, then it becomes harassment. But at the same time, you find if it's a man who is good looking and has a lot of resources, then the woman appreciates the validation that they get from that. But back to the issue of this harassment, I think that it is something that men need to understand that nothing good can come out of it, and it's one of the lowest forms of trying to obtain sex from a woman using your position of power. I think it is shameful, and it's something that is very reprehensible.
Mm-hmm. And that's it had to take a documentary from an international media house, not even the victims themselves bringing this thing out. And does it also mean that we have normalized, that our women have normalized such level of abuse? Because this thing has been going on, and those guys are still working there. The women, they're still reporting to work. Some are saying, I didn't have an option, I had to do it. Does it mean that then we have somehow familiar and normalized that culture of exchange?
It's not like we have normalized. I think our laws are still very weak. Mm-hmm. And you've seen girls complain that even reporting something as like rape, the way our police force works, I think their training and the way they are trained has not been updated to an extent that it can handle this. Mm-hmm. Now, the people at the top, like if you work in these big NGOs, the big corporates, such kind of thing cannot happen because the child laws are very clear on what needs to be done. And a few men could get away with it, but you can't really go far with it. Mm-hmm. But now when you go to the poor, unless, I think I saw, is it the Kenyan human rights lawyer was there? Like they need a lot of help in terms of legal representation and also protection, because for them now, they are walking a very tight line between putting food on the table, because most of those women are either widows, single mothers, So they really have to, they need that job and they need that money. So that's why they find themselves in that space. And I liked what the lady who went in to help the reporter with the investigations, herself, she said that had she been in a position like those women, she really wouldn't have much choice, because the kind of the pressure that those men have. So it's basically about the law, because I've seen, I've lived in the West, where such a thing, like, you've seen what has happened to the likes of Harvey Weinstein, the R. Kellys of this world, Yeah. They've all been thrown to jail. Bill Cosby, I think, he's since gotten all right. Yeah, so it's like poor women are not lucky. And we have to think of ways that we can protect them. And I was wishing that maybe, like the ladies who've sent to Parliament, like this nonsense the Karen Nyams are doing, those are the people now who should help us now come up with better laws in Parliament, Yeah, but I haven't even seen even male legislators should say something, but I've not seen even female legislators trying to, to ask for answers, Even having like an internal investigation, they are on their own. Nobody's talking about that. So, yeah.
And also you should... Now that you mentioned Nyamu, I saw you said something about Samido and the issue of burden of performance. Do you have any comments to make about the drama that's going on around Samido?
No.
If you are Samido, what would you do?
Not much. I don't think he's making the best choices. But we also say that the stove that burns teaches best. So I think he's going to make his mistakes. He's a young guy. I think he's 30 years now. And that's an age when most men are very dumb. And they are basically driven by the desire for sex. So I think he's basically not getting the right advice or information. If he knew his own value, I don't think he'd move the way he's moving. And if he also understood that the industry that he is in and the kind of money he's getting, he's not going to be there for long unless he has a very good strategy. You see people like, for example, Koffi Olomide, who have been there for decades, they are not the norm. Most musicians are a flash in the pan. 5-6 years, they are gone. So he really needs to consolidate his assets and fortify himself as a man. I've been told that he has some rental houses and he has done some investments and so on. But you see what normally happens, the kind of women you associate with and the kind of lifestyle you put up for yourself. Many men, when their primary source of income runs dry, that's when they quickly realize that what they thought they had invested in actually cannot sustain themselves. So I think for him, I hope somebody can advise him so that he can make the right moves and the right decisions.
Yeah. Okay. Silas, what would you tell Samira if you met him today?
I always look at him like in that situation of sikio la kufa, aliski dawa. And he has to learn painfully because...
That way.
You know, there are women who just wreck homes and they don't care. Like, they don't have any values. They don't have like a value system. They don't care what happens to you. And some people don't know is at the peak of his talent. Like, he's at the peak. And from it, it starts to deteriorate because there are more young people coming up with better talent. And very soon, if he's being paid like, 200 Gs for a show, he'll start performing in bars. He's being paid even 50K or 20K, you know. And for men, when your value goes down, women desert. They don't stick around long enough. So you need to get a grip on himself. And I'm sure he's been told these things. I think I even saw Rick G trying to warn him. And he really has to be smart about it. Otherwise, statistically, we know that marathon runner who died, you know. There's an amount of chaos that women can generate in your life that as a man, you'll just succumb to pressure, you know. So I'm sure maybe you could be having some personal traumas that are unaddressed, but he needs to talk to elders because there are certain people, once you introduce them into your life, everything goes south. Yeah. So I don't know about you, Jacob, but I think for me that is that's what I can say. If he doesn't change, we've seen so many men at the top, right in Kenya, and we don't have to mention names. We've seen so many who are their peak, like in their 30s. You know, there are those guys who peak early in life, and I talk about this in one of my memos. And then you don't handle yourself very well, and you find yourself in your 40s broken. And see the thing with women, sort of they have of maintaining where they are. Like if Nyam, for example, if Samido today, she'll still be a senator, you know, and she'll remain in those political circles because they stick around there like forever, you know. But for Samido, we have no guarantee that the talent will be there 20 years from now, you know. So that's what he has to think about.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anything you want to add, Jacob?
Yeah, I think he's nailed it. That's the thing. And of course, advising a man like that at this particular point in time is going to be very difficult. We normally say that when the student is ready, the teacher will emerge. And many times, what makes the student ready is some sort of catastrophe or adversity. That's why we say that the stove that burns teaches best. So I think he'll ride it out. And we hope that he's not going to crash and burn. We hope he can make the turnaround before it's too late.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Let's look at some of the things that our audience here would like us to speak on. I think there was something here. About Omore, ask Jacob Aliet to educate us on how to date without money. It's like going to a mathematics exam without a calculator.
How to date without money.
How to date without money.
Yeah.
Jacob, that's
Yes. So what he's asking is very easy. You know, right now, one of the most popular dating sites is called Tinder. And if you look at Tinder basically involves women going to this application and they look at the faces of men and they swipe left or right. They don't know whether you have money or whether whether you have money or whether you don't have money. They don't know your career and so on. Of course, under there, below your profile picture, you probably described yourself, your age, your career, and so on. But the primary decision is based on looks. And that's why we tell guys you need to prioritize your looks. Beta males have sort of tried to convince the world that money is all that you need. Of course, you need money, and money is very, very important for you as a man. But they need to understand that you can still have access to very attractive women, even if you do not have money. What you need to do is to engage yourself in activities that bring out your talents and your competencies. So it means, for example, if it is sports, We know, for example, in the university and high school, the people who are doing very well in rugby, basketball, and so on, they get the best girls. They don't necessarily have money. It's about charisma. It's about confidence. It's about how you articulate yourself. It's about being a fun person. It's about being someone who is interesting to be around. So they need to understand that it's not just about money. And money brings comfort. Money does not buy you desire. Many men end up in very difficult relationships because they used money to get the women. You can still use money to get the women because of hypergamy, because women want resources. But desire cannot be negotiated, desire cannot be bought. You can get them attracted to you because of money, because they need the money, but they will not desire you necessarily. So the things that actually make women desire you have got nothing to do with money. It's about your charisma, it's about your looks, it's about your personality, and so on.
Okay. All right. Do you have anything to say about that, Silas? Mm-hmm. And also, dating in Nairobi is a sport, man. Mm-hmm. Do you know you cannot go for a date in Nairobi without 10,000?
Yeah, that's true.
Huh? You don't have 10,000 in the pocket, you have no business going for a date in Nairobi.
It's very expensive, and inflation does not help matters much. But you really don't. What you need as a man is game.
Game gun.
You just need to have a good game, because the woman you're spending 20,000 to get, someone can get with just weed.
For free. Yes. Women can get her even with her own money.
Yeah, with her own money, So, like Jacob said, actually, it's us men, what I normally call like high value simps, who think that you need money for you like to date. Of course, you need money for facilitation, but if you have to give a woman money to buy her attention, then just no game yako go down. Yeah, you have a lot to work on yourself. And as I said there a couple of shows ago, I used to be that man who used to think like when I meet a girl, I have to impress her so much. Only to realize like there are guys who buy these girls Gilbys and they get on with it. Where I'm thinking like I should find like the finest gin, like the best whiskey. And I discover this guy just stringing them along, buying them nothing, anakuja tu kwa nyumba, atapika mpaka atakuoshea. So what you need to work on more is your game. Yeah.
So hii pressure tunakuwa tumejiekelea.
Yes.
Pressure is tumejiekea by the way.
Exactly. I think he's put it well. So it's about game. Game are social skills. Those are the things I was talking about. It's about how do you talk to a woman? What is the tonality of your voice? Are you exuding confidence? Are you exuding masculinity? What kind of strength are you using when you're coming to the table? So that's what guys need to understand. Most of us, I think, maybe because of lacking masculine role models, we have no idea how to seduce a woman. So you want to use money. You don't have to use money. In any case, as we were saying in the last show, you actually should not use a lot of money when you're going to a first date with a woman. Best case scenario, let it be a coffee date. Don't go buying a dinner date to a woman you're meeting the first time. Okay, that's like you're trying to make a big impression. Go very low budget, because some women, and this is something I posted about last week, the women who come to dates because they like attention. She's not interested in you, but she loves the validation that comes with you inviting her for a date. So those are the women who come to dates with their friends. You've invited her for a date, she comes with 3 of her friends. Or you invited her for a date, the whole time her face is glued to her phone. That's a woman who is looking for attention. She's not interested in you. So don't invest a lot of money on the first date until you figured out and being able to calibrate the level of desire that this woman has on you.
And just to chip in on that, I once did a feature for the Standard about women eating fair. And I was asking around why do they do that. And overwhelmingly, women told me that kama nakupenda hata fare atajilipia.
Utakuja na fare yake.
Yeah. Like if you have to send fare, for example, unless she's really broke and maybe you can send. But sometimes women just drive in a car to come to the ghetto to check on their men, Yeah, so that's what women told me, that It was a good discussion. I used to run this page on Facebook called Thriving Singles, and it was a very good learning experiment. They were saying, kama anakupenda, she'll sacrifice to come and be with you. She'll even send money your way. So basically just up your game.
Yes.
Learn how to flirt, for example. Those things can be learned. Right? That those who have them naturally, but it's something that you can just teach yourself. Learn how to tell a good joke. Humor can always... you can warm your way through using humor, be knowledgeable on a few things, be charming. Like women are always fascinated with, I don't call them small things, but there are some small acts that mean a lot. They're very small gestures that mean a lot to them, that can work better than money.
Yes.
Because for me, Jacob, what I discovered is that anytime you are using money, the woman even, and I could despise. She'll take your money, but she'll just despise you. Yeah.
Okay. She'll feel like you're objectifying it, right? So wanaume wamesema mambo ya pressure ya pesa na nyinyi mnajiekelea. Yes. Mambo ni hivyo. Jacob amesema the first date, enda chini ya mti na kafanta na brown bread. All right, there's another question here from Matthew, and he's saying co-parenting. Let's talk about co-parenting and the baby mama. Co-parenting and the baby mama wants the dad to pay school fees. And also a school of a choice he can't afford. I think the same thing that we spoke last time, what DNA was raising. The issues of baby mamas and the demands they make. Like they tell you the child should go to a certain school or should live this kind of life that you yourself you cannot afford. I think we spoke about it last week, but I can still weigh on it.
Basically,
the pressure of co-parenting.
Basically, what as a man you need to know is that women will always have the best interest of the children. And sometimes the best interest for the children can be beyond the reach of the father. And so many men are locked out of their fatherhood role because of that. But the best way to go about it, just go with what the law says. Have the best interest of the child as well, because this child is yours. But also the law protects you because you can only give what you have. Yeah. Hata kama ni 5K ndio unaezana, tuma. Kama mama anaikataa, just keep the receipts. The good thing is that kids grow very fast and they'll come to know these things. It's not like they'll never know. But as long as your intentions are clear, don't allow to be bullied. Some women can really be very bad bullies.
Yeah.
And some men don't know how to handle baby mama bullying. They either withdraw or they just disappear or they get resentful. So this is a child and we're not playing games with the child. So as a man, you have to be very firm. Also have the best interest of the child with you, but also only, DNJ or DNA was complaining. Always pay what you can afford because a school is such a long, we're looking at almost 16 years. So you don't start paying expensively and then you can't sustain that. And another thing that mamas normally forget, kids are just very fast. Unaweza toa mtoto makini, bado mchukue Olympic primary, the kid will adjust. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Jacob?
Yeah, I think so that's the right track. So don't allow her to set the standards for you because it is your money, and if you there's a competition that normally also emerges. Like if you're co-parenting and she marries someone who has more money than you, then she wants you, if that person is taking his kids to a certain school, then she wants you also to take your kids to that kind of a school. So sometimes men struggle with that. If you have a woman who is not malicious, you can work it out very well and find a way of that is sustainable, that doesn't make you struggle. So that is very important. Don't do things out of ego, maybe to make a point or to prove a point. Do what you can afford in the long term and don't forget about yourself. The challenge you have is most guys spend 100% of their income on the education and the expenses of the family, and they forget about their pension and their retirement. So it's very, very important to leave something for yourself and towards your future. Because if you're going to be a broke grandpa, nobody is also going to want to stay around you. Yeah.
All right. On the same issue that on that issue of co-parenting, so that we can move into the topic of the day. There's been an issue as well of hybrid parenting. The issues where now mimi na Silas tuko na watoto nyumba moja. So if you marry a chick, the same way you're saying, maybe your chick gets married with your child. Or maybe you marry a chick that has a child and I mean the other guy needs access. How do you manage? How do you balance this? And as a man, how do you protect your territory without necessarily interfering with the rights and affairs of the child?
I think for me, is to avoid as much as possible getting in such a situation. If like you have an option to avoid, you want to avoid it. But in the event it happens, I prefer if I'm marrying a single mother, the other man should not be in the picture at all. Because men were logical, women are emotional. So you cannot bank on your wife not having a relationship with the baby daddy. So zile siku mtakosana, the other guy already has an imprint on her. So it's really tricky and it gets really messy. And we are animals at the end of the day, both men and women. And if the man is in the picture as a man, there's a way that you'll feel. And you can't control that. So if he's a man who's completely out of the picture and there's such instances, then well. But I'm not a big fan of those, how do you call them? Not co-parent, like the hybrid, the blended family. I'm not a big fan of that. Yeah. It messes children up. It messes you even as parents, because even your wife will not be happy knowing that you have a relationship with your baby mom out there. So, some rich men can get away with it, but most of the time it's a continuous source of conflict, and also I think it messes children up. Because of that mix-up and all that. We can try to ape the Americans and all that, but it's messy everywhere. I'm sure like some celebrities, I saw with the Al Shakis and Swiss Beats, and that Mashonda lady trying to say like it's a good arrangement, but that's more of an exception than the rule. Most of the time it's messy.
So avoid it.
Avoid if you can.
Yeah. So we are maybe in the pressure of provision. So this guy is in, like you're saying, then maybe for his children or child, maybe anasema watoto wake anaenda Braban. Sasa wewe ni hustler wako, wanasema pia pressure, you need to match up with the children. All children need to go to school. How do you manage these situations? And would you allow a man to be part of managing the family because they have children with your wife?
I think it's something I've thought about, but I think Silas has the solution. I think the best thing is just to avoid it, because I think this thing of co-parenting, it's a scam. The best way I will say is to, if you're marrying a single mother, take up all those kids. Take up all those kids, because it gets very messy. Because co-parenting is the only legal way that a woman has two men who are beholden to her legally to provide for her and her kids. And the challenge also is that, as he has said, Silas has said, women are very emotional beings. And the worst thing about the baby daddy is that they have familiarity with this particular woman. So this guy can always press her buttons. You're going to have quarrels with her. You're going to have disagreements. There will be moments when she can do something just out of anger, just to hurt you. And this other guy is always going to be hanging around. So I think it's a situation that should be avoided because it just leads to more chaos. If these people are getting divorced or splitting up, let them do so in a way that enables her and the kids to continue. But the idea of co-parenting, I think it's an experiment that doesn't necessarily work out well.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so is it Stephen Dongo? Someone starting the match with a handicap is very disadvantageous to a man. Someone has a version 3.0. Dongo Dol, Dr. Flabasi, Cyril, right, Donald Sigay, falling, asante sana. Thanks for the guys of Johnny, please, when you like, we get to know that you're watching us, and like, please share. When you share, you give someone else an opportunity to watch the broadcast. This is Men Only, comes to you every single Sunday from 8 p.m. to 10 p.m. Kelvin MK on YouTube. Good evening, tuned in from Kasarani. Asante sana. Watching live from Ukunda, tuende nalo wadau. Asante sana. All right, let's keep it going. Now, straight to the conversation of the day. The topic of the day, the issues of women, the modern woman. First of all, how do you define the modern woman, Silas? Who is a modern woman?
The model or the modern?
Modern
woman is basically first of all, she must be educated, and at least with a bachelor's degree. She works. She has a corporate job or works in the civil society sector. I want to assume she lives in a city. In Kenya, we're looking at all the big cities or the major towns, talking in banking, telcos, teachers, and all that. And they have embraced, I can't call it like feminism. They have embraced like the capitalist life that now all of us live. And most of them have abandoned their roots. In the sense that if she's Kisii, she no longer identifies with the Kisii culture and what maybe our culture expects of her. She's fully taken on the modern life. Yeah.
Okay. All right. I think we'll start from there. Then before we get into, of course, the deeper conversation of equal partnerships, let's define the woman first. Then we go to the partnership, the modern woman. Jacob, how do you describe modern woman?
Yeah, I think Silas has defined the modern woman well. So the modern woman basically is a woman who does not embrace her traditional roles of being a homemaker, of supporting her husband, of supporting her man. The modern woman, for the most part, she prioritizes her career compared to her family. The traditional woman prioritizes her family compared to her career. The modern woman also tends to be selfish. She's very selfish compared to the traditional woman in this sense. If the husband, who is a breadwinner, loses his source of income, this modern woman would rather, in a situation where she also has a job, she would rather leave that marriage and go and enjoy her money either with her friends or alone or with the kids, but not with the man. So the modern woman looks at the man as a utility, something to be exploited, not something that she identifies with. And you'll find, of course, also she does not take up his name. In most cases, traditionally, if you married a woman, she will take your name. And the modern woman would prefer to keep her name. So you find that the ties that bound the traditional woman to the traditional man are not there in the modern woman. But you also find that what makes the modern woman more interesting is that as much as she is modern, the way I've said, she wants a traditional man. That means that she wants the man to play his traditional roles. She wants the man to be a protector, a provider, a father. She wants this guy to provide parental investment. But at the same time, she wants to be treated as equal to this man. So that is actually brings us to the topic of equal partnerships. Yes.
All right. So let's dive in straight into it. I don't know what the audience understand about the modern woman. And if you can also give us your own personal description of what you think a modern woman is, then we'd appreciate it. But let's dive in straight into the conversation of the day. And it is about equal partnerships and modern women. Equal partnerships and modern women. What are equal partnership? Let's start at the definition level, Silas. What's an equal partnership?
An equal partnership is a situation where you have a marriage where the man and woman are equal in the relationship. You share responsibilities, utilities, everything is shared equally. And she's not your wife. She's more of like a business partner. Yeah. She's more of like a business partner. And so the marriage is being ran like it's a business entity and not a social, it's not like a social entity, Yeah. It's a very American idea that has been embraced, especially with, I've seen it, especially among the high class black women. They're really into that. And sort of like the partners want to protect themselves. The event like of a divorce, nini. Like waenda hasara. So they just want to run, like everyone has a say in how things should be done in that marriage. Yeah. It's not like the traditional way that we know that there's the head and the neck, yes, and, yeah.
Apa ni equal.
Apa all of you are both of you are heads. Yeah.
Jacob.
Yeah, so I think he's defined it well, but I think we need to give it some context or background. We must remember that when feminism started, the push was for equality. And equality was about having equal opportunities in terms of work or career. Women wanted to be able to be in the workplace like men. They wanted to be able to vote. They wanted to own property. And they were given this, okay? So then we had the contraceptive, and contraceptive gave women the unilateral right to decide whether a child comes into this world or not. And then, of course, now with abortion rights. But now when you're talking about equal partnership, it's where now women now bring equality into the marriage. Where now, because of their ideology, they feel that the traditional roles of a woman were oppressive. Like if a woman is cooking, they feel cooking is oppressive. In fact, yesterday someone posted a meme saying that feminism is the ideology that if a woman works for her boss, then she's free. But if she works for her husband and her children, then she's a slave. So that is how feminism looks at the traditional roles of a woman. So equal partnership, now it's feminism brought into the marriage where there is no authority in this marriage. You and her, you are equal. No one has the authority. There's nothing like the man is the head of the family. There's nothing like if you want to make a decision about buying a major asset, you have to consult and things like that. So that is what equal partnership is about. And we have seen actually when people talk about this equal partnership, one thing that people forget and or fail to recognize is that we have evolved over millions of years. And over these millions of years, women have evolved with a firmware that makes them be attracted and aroused to a man who is higher than them. And that's why we talk of hypergamy. So women who talk about equal partnership are actually not aware of their own nature. And the female nature is that a woman wants a man who is actually higher than her in terms of status, in terms of competence, in terms of strength, in terms of intelligence. That's why whenever you talk to a woman, you ask her what kind of a man she wants. Most women will say they want a man who is taller than them. Of course, they want a man who is more intelligent than them. No woman will want a man who is not as sharp as them. They'll want a man who has more money than them. Research has shown that even women who are CEOs, who are earning a lot of money, they still want men who have more money than them. You'll never find a woman who actually feels that she has so much money that the man doesn't need to have money. We have even the example of A$AP Rocky and Rihanna, who are now married, but the kind of treatment that Rihanna is giving this young man, he is now treated as the lower person in the marriage. He's one who is babysitting. And even if you look at the way they take the photos in public, the whole idea is to present Rihanna as the leader in that particular union. So equal partnership is an ideology that feminism brought. And many girls, even recently I was giving this book to a lady who came with her husband. And when I gave her the book, I asked her, okay, she was introducing the guy that she was with, and she said, this is my partner. So I told her, you should not call him your partner. This is your husband. So it's an idea that many women, they embrace it, but they don't really think about it. Because the reality is, if you give a woman a man who is equal to her, she's not going to be happy. Women want men who are more than them. That is how they feel that they got the right man. If you get a man who is exactly the same, like she earns 100,000 and you're earning 100,000, she feels cheated. Because their firmware is set up such that she wants you to take the greater burden of responsibility in the household compared to her. If you're going toe to toe, then she feels cheated. And she will feel that she probably needs to get a man who has more than you. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay. Is equal partnerships viable? Is it viable?
It's not viable, can never be viable, and it's always a raw deal for the man. Okay. Not just raw, just a bad deal for the man. And as Jacob has said, for women, the more money they make, the more superfluous a man becomes in their lives. Because the thing is, if you look at the percentages, for example, only about 80,000 Kenyans earn more than 100,000. So if you split that into equal, like we say, about 40,000 are men and 4,000 are women, there's a very low pool of men who are of high net worth that these women can compete with and even form that equal partnership with. So for me, I think it's not viable, and no man should ever sign up for such a thing. unless you are really a fool or a simp. And just know, anytime woman wants that, she's about to play you dirty. Yeah, and utatoka hapo kama bila
manyoya.
Yeah. So the only time women can do equality is when a man has no spine. When you have no spine and she can manipulate you for a period of time, that's when it can happen. And then they easily get bored with such kind of men. This is just a short time, and then either now she goes for a stronger man, or she remains single, or down the line she might decide to pick like a weak man who just in the shadows, just like the thing Oprah has with that guy. It was
Stedman.
Yeah, you're just there, but you're not our focus.
We call them stuffed dolls. Yeah. You're like a teddy bear.
Yeah.
So kazi yako ni gani ukiwekwa hapo?
You're basically like a teddy bear.
Okay. You're a tool.
Yeah. I've talked to these feminists, like some of the toughest feminists in Kenya. Even them, they want a strong man. They want a man to be the leader. They want a man to be the head. I've seen them. Some of them are always expressing their frustrations here. How they want to have the car fixed. How, for example, they're buying a piece of land. They are having those challenges. They feel like a man would have done. Some of them are even praising how their fathers were strong, and they no longer see men were as strong as that. So it's not a viable thing, and no man in their right mind should sign up for that unless it's just a business.
Yeah.
Okay, back to you, Jacob.
Yeah, I think it's very true, and this is one of the reasons why I discourage men from listening to women when it comes to ideas of relationships. Any young lady will tell you that she wants a partner, okay, but she's just parroting what she's heard in the media and she's watched in Hollywood. She doesn't even know what that means. So it would be a very bad deal for any man to settle with a woman who wants a partner, because first of all, if she wants you to be her partner, it means she doesn't respect you. Because imagine a situation where you are a CEO, you've worked hard, you've even created your own company, you have your own money, and you get a young lady who has not done much in life, or maybe she's a graduate, but she's just starting off her career, and you get married, and she tells you that, I want us to be partners. There's no way you're going to be partners, because in terms of the assets you're bringing on board, you can outmatch anything that she can bring. So when a lady tells you that she wants you to be partners, it means she sees you as a peer. And that also means that it's going to be very difficult for you to have authority in that relationship. So that is something that men need to watch out for. Don't take it for granted. Either she's a feminist, that means she's been influenced by feminist ideology, or she actually sees you as a peer. And if she sees you as a peer, her hypergamous filter is not going to allow her to be happy in that relationship. So take it very seriously. You need to get a woman who will allow you to take the lead in that relationship. Because if she sees you as a partner, then you're going to be struggling with even minor decisions. You're going to do something in that marriage and she starts questioning it. You'll have to be consulting at every turn. And remember, men and women are very different. People who say that they want equal partnerships also are approaching the relationship with that kind of ignorance. They think that men are like women. Men are not like women. There's no way we are going to be equal, because we are not going to be thinking the same way. A man will be making a decision that a woman may not necessarily like. But for a woman to go along with that decision, she needs to see you as a leader. She needs to respect you. If she does not respect you, she's going to be challenging you at every turn, and that's going to make a very unsettling or tumultuous relationship. So that is very, very important. Men need to understand that these ideas you're getting from Hollywood about equal partnership, they're actually not practical. And if you find a woman who feels that you should be partners, that is a woman who needs to get somebody else. Don't stay in that relationship. Get a woman who is going to feel that you are actually a competent man who can be a leader that she can follow. That's the woman that can make a good marriage for you.
Yeah. Is this a new problem, or it has always been there?
Is it a new problem?
Yes.
It's a new problem, of course, because it's coming from...
Very new.
Yeah, it's an ideology. From the beginning, or rather from our history, men were always the ones who are protecting women. I know we are coming from a past where when women are not working, it means men needed to provide, men needed to protect the women and children from invading armies, invading forces, and so on. It also means that men then were the ones who could tell, if you come to your family and tell them, hey, we are leaving this place because it's going to be dangerous in 2 days. You get out, you tell them we are going this way. They have to follow you. And there's no way you're going to lead someone who doesn't respect you, because you tell them we are going this way, and she'll tell you no, me, I don't see a problem here. Why are we leaving? But if she knows you are a leader, she knows you know what you're doing, she's going to follow you and you're going to lead them to safety. So the man, for him to actually to be able to protect his wife and his children, they have to actually treat him as a figure of authority, because it means if he tells, let's stop doing this, let's put our money in this, then she's going to listen. But if she's not going to listen to you, there's no way you can protect her, because you tell her, for example, close that door, she's not going to close it. But if you tell her to close that door and she knows that you understand safety and you understand the environment well, she's going to close the door, because she understands it's for her own best interest. Yeah.
Okay, Silas. Before we came on site, we were having a conversation around the African woman and the Western woman, and you've among the three of us, you're the one who has been lucky to live outside. The only place we live outside is maybe outside the house. Some of us, I think you've been able to live outside the country. Now, what would you say about the modern black woman versus the modern white woman? And you were saying, I found it a bit outrageous when you say that white women are more submissive than black women.
White women are quite submissive to their men. And I think they live sort of like in a different world. And we confirmed this when they voted for Trump. I think 55% of white women chose Trump over Hillary. And Hillary is like the model, feminist, modern woman, one that would think like she's an equal to her husband, Bill Clinton, But I have lived in the West and I've traveled in some parts of Europe. What you notice that white women don't have these like hang-ups, these militants. Yeah, maybe because their system works, and part of the dysfunction we have with the black women is because how the systems also messes up, not just with the black woman, but also with the black men. But generally, I notice that even my friends who are abroad, they always tell me that if you want to marry, then kama utakuwa na Ukenya mwingi, you are better off with a white woman. If you're like a straight up dude, honest and all that, it'll work. What white women can't take, they can't entertain easy ukora ndogo. But if you're a straight up dude, a white woman, you can always wage your life with her. Yeah.
Actually, that is true. I want to add something to that. If you look at the way black women in the U.S., I've also been in the U.S. in Pennsylvania. The way they look at white women, they look at white women like they're stupid. Like the husbands are taking advantage of them. But you see also, part of it is a legacy of racism, because there is this book which was later made into a movie called The Color Purple. The Color Purple portrays a black man as a very tyrannical towards his wife. And it has really influenced the black women. And they see the black man exactly as that, as an enemy, as someone that you need to be careful around, as someone that you need to show your resources so that when he finally abandons ship, then you are ready to survive on yourself. And then, among black women, single motherhood and singlehood has been ennobled. You see, Beyonce sang Single Ladies. And actually, when you look at the black women, they mislead each other way more than... White women don't have the kind of nonsense we have among black women. For example, if you look at Ciara, there was a point when she was crying on TV, praying for God to give her a husband. When she got her husband, I think it's Russell Wilson, last week she was busy, she was sending a video on showing her, she has been sending twerking videos and she's a married woman, and she was sending a video telling women who are single that they are strong, they are queens, they are invisible, that you can live without a man. But she's a married woman. If you look at Beyonce, when she was singing Single Lady, she was already married to Jay-Z. So black women have this idea of ennobling being single, and trashing black men. And they really mislead each other, particularly the ones who are actually on showbiz. The ones who are showbiz really mislead these other common folk women. And women also, when the common woman looks at these other women, they think they can do what they're doing. For example, if you look at, what's her name? Kanye West's Kim Kardashian. You know, Kim Kardashian had that video of Jay-Z. It went round. She got a very bad name. But she still went ahead and married Kanye West, who was a very rich man who had a very good career. So some women still think that they can also do the same. They can tote around, have sex videos, and have a scandalous past, and still be able to get a man later in future. It does not work like that. It does not work like that at all, because the kind of assets that Kim Kardashian has, even in terms of her career, the family she comes from, is very different from the kind of families that some of these women come from. This is a woman whose background actually is a background of wealth. So there's a lot of misleading messaging that you find that the black women get that has really messed them up. The white woman is much more grounded. I think Silas has put it very well. They know their roles in the family. They know the role of the man in the family. The only thing about them, of course, is things like honesty and things like that. They take them very, very seriously. But the black women, again, because of having a huge population of black men incarcerated, a number of them have grown up without father figures. They are damaged. You'll find maybe they have been abused when they were young. They have suffered a lot of either violence and things like that. Most of them carry a lot of trauma. And because of that also, they make very unstable partners. And they also end up becoming people who end up in marriages that are not very stable. And even the way they look at life and the way they look at men is totally messed up. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
All right. Look at this. Part 2. Kimgana Rono. Modern woman only cares about personal looks in terms of fashions, makeups, fun, vehicles, and all. She is a spendthrift. She can go to an extent of leaving a man if he fails in providing for the family. In case a man loses a job, she is unable to spend what she earns with an employed man for the matter. I think you had raised that. Bruno, create topics on serious engagements. Asante. Feeling a teach. We'll see you. Now, where is the lie of modernization of women? Is it not possible that a woman can be modern but still rooted to the frame of femininity? Because when you talk about, you mentioned about the Western woman or the white woman who has evolved way earlier than the black woman, but has still remained within that frame of being feminine and being a woman. Where is the lie of modernity of women? Where is that big lie?
I think...
is it not possible to evolve but still remain grounded?
Yeah, there's some who've done that, and by the woman who's modern and has retained her femininity, she wins big at life. She wins proper, because now she can have the best of both worlds. I think, as Jacob said, is especially women, black women, they are highly impressionable. Like, and there's a certain gullibility, especially when you go with pop culture, that tends to mislead them, whereby like Beyonce is married, but she's telling women to go this way. You can study a lot about a country's pop culture. If you see white celebrities by day, like the Adeles of this world, the Celine Dion, you see the kind of music and art that they make, and you can see how it speaks to white women. Adele can just go to the studio, sing, and fully dressed, it'll still hit 1 billion views. But for us black women, they have to dance naked, they have to twerk, they have to do all those crazy stuff. Some can say that it's our culture and that's their culture, but there's a way that the TV, the Netflix and the Hollywood has really driven women off from their nature, and they keep on fighting it. So by the time they go back into embracing their femininity, they have lost out a lot. Yeah. But a woman who chooses from the age of 20, she'll be modern and she retains her femininity, she's going to win everywhere. At the workplace, she's going to win in marriage. If she wants to marry, she'll win everywhere. So those who try to adopt because the workplace is very masculine, yeah. So those who try to embrace masculinity as a way of dealing with the workplace, life becomes very rough for them. Getting partners, even staying in a marriage, it becomes very difficult. Yeah.
Okay, Jacob.
Yeah, so just to add on that, what is happening and what women need to realize, I know there are women who are listening. Black culture in the US, and this is a debate that is going on right now, it's trashy culture. It's a very trashy culture that doesn't have morals, that basically, because of the way black man has been weakened in the US, they don't have leaders, they don't have, and this is something Kevin Samuel used to talk about. You see, in the US, for example, when a woman is married, and this is something that now people need to understand. When you're in a relationship with a woman, you are in a relationship it's a relationship between two people. When you marry this woman, particularly in the West, now it's a man versus the woman and the government. And in most cases, you find that the government encourages these women because they're incentivized to divorce. When the woman is facing challenges in a marriage, the welfare system is actually set up to replace the man. And in the West right now, it really doesn't matter even whether a man is guilty or not. If she calls the cops and says you've abused her, that's it. Your career is ruined. Last month there was a principal. This was a white man, unfortunately. He committed suicide because his wife just called the cops and said that they were having a domestic dispute, and this man had laid his hand on her. And when that was done, the school board put him on suspension. And this guy felt that his career was ruined. He committed suicide. So the culture that our ladies are coping from these black women like Kim Kardashian and Nicki Minaj and the rest, it's actually a trashy culture that doesn't have a male leadership. And the male leadership is not there because of how they're being treated in the West. So what the black women, for example, are doing right now, most women prefer to be single mothers compared to be married women. So you find their baby mamas, like right now, 40% of the unmarried women in the US, they're single mothers. So they prefer to get children out of wedlock and then they look for a man later. And it's the same thing now when you're finding here, what you find feminism teaching women, that you prioritize your career first. And this is a blunder that I've seen a number of women make. So most women, when they prioritize their career and they ascend in the corporate ladder, by the time you're 40, maybe you're middle-level management or upper-level management, your eggs are running out, you're hitting menopause, and you're very masculine. You cannot cooperate with a man. You cannot follow his leadership. You feel that you know more. You're very disagreeable. So they cancel themselves out of the marriage game. At the same time, and this is also what is happening a lot, because of social media. Social media has also really influenced modern women. Because of social media, they have very high expectations and demands from men. So you find that a woman who is 27, for example, the guys who are in their early 30s, she feels those guys cannot cut it. So she'll want a man who is higher than those guys. And that man is most likely married. So they start an affair with these married men. And of course, they are flexing for their peers. They go to Dubai, they go to Malindi, they're sending these photos on Instagram. What most of these guys do, the guys who are keeping them like side chicks, they'll tell them to nizalie katoto, nizalie mtoto, in the heat of the moment. And of course, most of these women will agree because their friends will tell them that that child is a paycheck. So they'll agree. So they become a single mother to a man who is married. So a number of them, you find they are career women, but they are also single mothers. Now, unfortunately, what they normally don't know, a number of these men also, and this also goes back to this Kericho situation, most of those guys who are making money and they are beta males, they don't think long term. If this guy loses his job, okay, or a number of them, even the guy gets a heart attack and he drops dead, these women remain with this child, and now you're in your 40s, you never got married, you spent your 20s sleeping around with married men. Now in your 30s or 40s, you have a single child, you're looking for a man. They end up in a very serious, difficult situation because their demands, unfortunately, are still high. You won't find that this woman who was sleeping with a CEO, now she realizes that she cannot get a man at that level. She'll still want a high-level man. So you'll find for a long time into their 40s and 50s, they are moving around with different men. They're very bitter because most men, once they realize you're a single mother, they use you for recreation only. They're not going to settle down with you. So these women are very bitter, and they blow up. If you look at the way they behave on social media, and I saw that even with the case of Samido and Nyamu, they want to defend this woman who is destroying this other marriage. So that is the situation we are finding. Women need to realize that if you are going to have the best case scenario in the long term, there's no problem with prioritizing your career, but get married first. You can still pursue your career when you're married. Don't waste your 20s with high-value men thinking that you're going to get a child with them and then be able to still get a high-value man later. Your value is at your highest in your 20s. That is what ladies need to realize.
But what is the crime? Why is it that it's okay for men to chase their careers and build their careers and run after all these grand things and build up something for themselves? But we have a problem when it is a problem when it is a woman saying, okay, I want to focus on my career or building this and that, and maybe get married. Is there a crime with getting married at 38?
Allow me to answer that. I'm glad you asked that question. Yeah. And it's something women don't understand. Many men even don't understand it. And it comes back to what we say, we are very different. This is a research that, there's a research that was done by a professor. It's called Warren Farrell. And he's the one who actually brought out the idea that is now treated as a fact, that men are success objects and women are beauty objects. Mm-hmm. Even if you look at it biologically, when a man is born, we say the man is born without value. Mm-hmm. And a man must make himself valuable. A man must become valuable. And men start generating sperms at puberty, and they generate it throughout their life. Women, however, are born with the eggs. When a woman is conceived, when she's still in the womb, she has a fixed number of eggs, and they start getting depleted. And this depletion continues until their mid-30s, when now they hit menopause. This is biology, okay? This is not something that we are making up. So this woman's ability to reproduce, and this is why a man needs a woman. It's because of our ability to reproduce. That's why men go for women. And of course, it's through it's through sex. So the primary agency, and that's why we talk about the primary agency of a woman being her sexuality. And women know this. That's why women, the makeup industry is very big. The beauty industry, they use lipstick, they use wigs, they do things to their nails, makeup. Mm-hmm. Because they know that it's about beauty. What gives a woman agency is a beauty. If you look at the Bible, for example, Jacob worked for 12 years to get Leah's hand in marriage. Leah didn't have a PhD, she didn't have a career. She was just a woman. And what men look for in women is their femininity, is their comforting nature. It's about their ability to reproduce. So it's not about their careers. So a woman can pursue a career. It's no problem. But do that, but be aware that that will not make you more marriageable. It can make you happy. It can make you respected in society, but it will not make you more marriageable. That's the thing.
Silas.
I think they can have it. They can have both. You can still have a career and still have a marriage. Not that now for marriage, there's that element of sacrifice about children. She's going to take about some 4 to 6 years when children come into the picture. But I think a woman can win on both fronts. It doesn't have to be like one or the other. A woman can win on both fronts. And we only focus on failures, but there are many women out here who are married and they are very successful in their career. Like they are born in both worlds. Yeah. The problem here is that marriage is never a linear thing. There will be difficult moments. There will be moments of triumph. Only that now the modern woman has problems dealing with the difficult parts of the marriage, So that's why most of them actually walk out from their marriages on very flimsy grounds. I've seen women who leave men because maybe lost his job or the man is just going through a difficult... as men, at some point in your marriage, you'll suffer some bit of identity crisis. And if it's not well handled, it can mess you up. But some men always collect themselves and they go back, they hit the grind and they get their money back. I know. And the woman left, now she wants to get back to the man, but it can't happen. So, of course, now this is like a new chapter where we find ourselves in as a country, especially in Kenya. So I always tell women that you can have both. It doesn't have to be one or the other.
You can have both worlds. Okay.
You can have both.
All right. Now, getting back to the conversation, of course, on equal partnerships and the modern women. Now, you're saying that this is a deal that a man should never take. So how do you see it coming? How do you tell it? Yeah. Do you know it's coming? That is because you're saying it's majorly a demand that is brought forward by women. So how do you see it coming and avoid it?
So most men, when you're young, and I think that's why it's good to have these shows. Most women who propose equal partnerships, but they do it from a good place. They don't do it because of they are malicious. They do it because they actually think it's the best way and they think it can work. But the reason they think it can work is because they don't understand themselves, the way their evolutionary firmware works. They don't understand that they are hypergamous and so on. So, and most men also agree to it because it looks like a good deal. I mean, if rent is 50,000 and she pays 25 and you pay 25, it makes a lot of sense. So it's something that is very easy to accept and it looks like a good deal from the get-go. Unfortunately, intersexual dynamics, are not necessarily rational. And for women, relationships, because of what we see on movies and what we read in books, women think that the reason they love men is because of, this guy is a nice guy, he's romantic and he's funny and things like that. But women actually love men because of the survival advantages that union gives them. And that's why we have what we call Brifolt's law. Brifolt is an anthropologist who actually surveyed and examined the way women operate in relationships, and he came up with what is called Brifolt's law. And he says that a woman is only in a relationship so long as she gets the benefits, continued benefits from that particular relationship. So what happens with equal partnership? Men need to realize and understand that the burden of performance actually lies on the man. The woman will propose to you that she will share it with you, but once you do that, then she's going to suffer the buyer's remorse. You're going to find she's not cooperative, she's very difficult, she's very masculine, she wants to pick up fights with you and so on, because she's a frustrated woman. A woman who has a man taking care of her very well is going to be a very submissive and cooperative woman. And that is what every man wants. No man wants to go home to a situation where the woman tells you, even me, I'm from work, I'm tired just like you. Why should I go and cook for you? There's no man who wants that kind of a situation. So men need to understand that take up the burden of performance, be ready to support this woman, and that way you are going to have a very smooth marriage. If you want a situation where your wife and you are equal partners, the challenge is, actually men don't have a problem with equal partnership. Men even don't have a problem with submission. Because you see, like in the military, it's very hierarchical. Men normally have no problem submitting to someone that is higher than them. The problem is women. Women do not want to have men who are equal to them. That is where the challenge comes. A woman will always want a man who is more competent than her, who brings in more money than her, who is more intelligent than her, who can solve more problems than her, and so on. That is when she feels that she actually has the right man. But if it turns out that you and you are the same, like there's a problem, maybe there's a sound, you guys are sleeping at night, and you feel like someone has touched the door, someone is trying to break in, and you're telling her to go, and she's telling you to go, and you go, me, I can't go. Then that is going to be a problem. She wants to be able to sit back and maybe hide under the bed as you walk out to confront the intruder. Then she feels now she has the right man. So that is what women want, unfortunately.
Silas.
Yeah, marriage is not an academic. It's not an academic exercise. As I said earlier, we are animals, and there are certain dynamics that play out in a marriage. That you're not going to use an academic script to solve. And that's why we must revert to type. Marriage is about the utility you bring to the marriage as a man, and the utility she brings to the marriage as a woman. So if both of you are equal, then you don't need the other. Like one has to go. And in this case, it's the woman who will dump you. But in Kenya, women who are bringing this kind of debate just know that they want all the benefits that a man brings to the marriage and they don't want to bring any benefits to that marriage as a woman when they talk about that equal partnership thing. And that's what normally happens, because the modern Kenyan woman, most of them, they want the best of what a traditional man can do. You provide, you protect and all that. And also now they want the best from the West, but they don't want to do their traditional roles that you expect of them, most of them. And usually when I see women debating on stuff online about kupika, ni unpaid labor, nini, and that nonsense, I know this is not a woman worth even wasting your time with, those domestic chores, like, vitu kila mtu anafanya, like when you're living alone, is you cook. Does that equate to labor? Absolutely not. Ukisinajioshia nguo, that's not labor. How then when a man comes to the picture, you start talking about, I don't know, is unpaid labor and that kind of stuff. So for men, I always tell them that you're not getting into marriage to start having academic arguments with your wife on who does what and anything. Marriage has to have a proper structure. And when there is no that structure, it'll end. And it's women who call quits. Yeah. So anytime as a man, you're not the lead, you're not the head of your family, that's chaos. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I've seen some of these men, like professors who married fellow professors in colleges. Hey, they normally live very miserable lives. Some even commit suicide. Because when a woman is forced now to be in charge of the family, or you are equal, they tend to become very tyrannical. That's what happens. Like as a man, when you're the head, then she becomes a tyrant, and you don't want that. When she becomes a tyrant, then you're boxed into a corner. You don't know what to do. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So don't buy that.
He has something to say.
Yeah. That's a very important feature of women make tyrannical leaders. Okay. And I think it comes from maybe the resentment of being put in a leadership position. A woman doesn't want a situation where she leads the man. That's why we have housewives, but we don't have house husbands. A woman doesn't want to be out there struggling for you as you're sitting at home. Women they have evolved to avoid and to reject such men. So a woman will always want a man who can cover her. And if you look at a man is very comfortable if she earns money, if he's earning money and his wife is a housewife, because he does not mind taking the pressure. And that's why we say pressure was made for shoulders and not for hips. But if you find a woman, even a woman who is earning her own money, she still wants a man who earns a lot of money more than her. The research shows that they want men who earn at least 58% more than them. The reason for this is because the man acts as a buffer. The women want the security that comes with having a man. Because a man is just a buffer to her. And that's why they say, my money is mine and this money is ours. The money that you're bringing is what she expects to cater for the family. And this money of hers, and this is a modern woman now, she wants to use that money just to frivolous expenditure, going to the spa, foot massage and things like that. But you see the kind of women our mothers were, the money that they brought was to support the family. So the modern woman is very different in that particular manner. She sees the man as a channel to give her a lifestyle, a lifestyle that is almost delusional. She does not see herself as someone who is supposed to bring resources and help the man actually to create a greater family. Instead, she's going to get the more expensive handbags. They have dozens of pairs of shoes, dozens of handbags, clothes, and things like that. So that's the difference, and it's very, very important to bear that in mind. As Silas has said, and as I mentioned earlier, we are evolved beings, and the way we've evolved is such that women want men to take leadership positions. They want strong men. They don't want to feel that they're the ones who are supporting the family and that the man is actually relying on them. It makes them feel very exposed, and they actually cannot take that pressure. They want the man to be able to take that pressure, and that's the man that they can submit to.
Okay. All right. Looking at the comments, Edwin Oma, Gerald, I'm loving the conversation. What do you think, bro? Should you be having this conversation without a woman on the table? Once again, this is men only. All right. Edwin Osenge waitana hapo, asante. Laban Maloi, we need clip cuts for this show pale TikTok, asante. Tuko TikTok tayari, tafuta pale Podcast Planet, tuko pale utaona videos have been cutting. Fellow Bukusu, great panelists, wonderful conversations. The topic is mind-blowing. Good job, mate. Good. Thank you so much, my brother. Odongo Odola, king can pick up any woman and make her a queen. On the other hand, a queen can't pick any man and make him a king. Equal partnership are not practical. They are purely textbook. Okay, feeling at it. Equal partnership would work well if there is a better understanding and communication, of course, blended a bit with culture and religion. Any comments you wish to make on that?
Yeah, it's a good point, because even in history, we had recently when Queen Elizabeth died. So when a man actually marries a queen, they call him a consort. A
consort, yeah.
Yeah, or he becomes a prince. It's like a baby, a man who refuses to grow, because you'll always be a prince even until you die. You can never become a queen, a king. But when a king marries a woman, she becomes a queen. So that is how we have evolved. That is how things work out. So that guy has talked about equal partnerships can work if there is clear communication and understanding. What you find, one of the reasons why we have very high divorce rates in the West is because these women and the white men actually embrace equal partnerships. And the way women are is that when they feel they don't have much to gain in this relationship or marriage, they can easily get divorced for very flippant reasons. So again, it's not for the best interest of a man who wants to bring up a stable family to have a situation where you have an equal partnership, because women actually are incentivized to divorce. Even today, if she divorces you and marries somebody else, you will still keep sending money for the child upkeep and the child support and things like that. But at the same time, the new dude can also be told to still be paying school fees for these children. So the woman has much more to gain from this divorce than the man. So it's much better. It gives greater stability if she actually feels that she's getting a lot more from this relationship. So what I advise men, marry a woman whose life you can actually impact. If she's a woman who feels that you are equal to her, it's going to be a very bumpy road ahead.
Okay.
Yeah.
Silas, anything you want to pick on? Anything you want to pick on?
I think
on the comments.
Jacob was really exhausted, but there's a guy who just said that it can work if there's communication, and that's a very big lie. Women move differently in marriage, yeah? And there can be communication, but you see, for women we judge them by their actions, not by what they say. So she can say that she wants an equal partnership, but the more I interact with the feminists out here, the more I realize that they actually need, all women need strong men. And when you talk about equality or equal partnership, there's no guarantee that if, for example, I'm earning $1 million today, I'll be earning that to the end of my life. And there's no similar guarantee on our end. Now, you have this bias whereby as a man, if you're earning more than her, you can keep her. But the moment she crosses that threshold where she's earning more than you, she can't keep you. So it can't work because marriage is not a linear thing that you can easily predict what will happen in the future. You know? So just as a man, don't sign up for that. Okay. And I know sometimes men we are impressed with this kind of talk. When a woman comes up with it, it really sounds like it's very intelligent. But down the line, it's a foolish idea. Foolish, not like in the sense like in kitu ujinga, like the idea itself is just foolish, especially if a man can buy into it. Yeah.
So let me ask you, there's something you've talked about. Of course, the predictability and the consistency of
marriage is not linear. Yeah.
Now, let's assume you're negotiating at this point when maybe things are good and you are that man, you are the man on the top. Maybe you have more income, your things are going on well, and you're negotiating at that point with this woman. right? With this woman, and you're negotiating for a space where you don't want an equal partnership. You want to define your space, the burden of performance as a man. But then down the road, the wheels, roll wrongly, and things doesn't happen for you anymore, and it's now reverse. So what do? Do you leave the marriage? Or how do you handle that?
She kicks you out. She leaves. Yeah. She either kicks you out or she leaves. And that's what happens. And 80% of divorces are initiated by women. And it's not because those men are, violent or cheaters. That's like maybe 10% of the men. But the rest of the men, 90% of the time, they're divorced because they bought into that idea of your equal partners. There's no such a thing as equality. Yeah.
So I agree with that, but there's also another aspect to it, and this is why you need to vet and pick the right woman. We talked about frame earlier. Now, when a woman enters your frame, and she's not a woman who has a high notch count, then you need to be able to imprint on her. If you've not imprinted on a woman, then she's also more likely to leave when you have challenges. So guys need to understand this, because as you've said, it is true. Sometimes your fortunes can diminish or dwindle, and then you find that you're not able to sustain the lifestyle that you were providing to her earlier. So that's why it's very important for you to be able to hold your masculine frame and embrace the burden of performance. You need to be able to have parallel streams of income so that you fortify yourself. The challenge with most of us and the beta males is that when a guy has a good job, he settles. He stops being creative. He stops investing and so on. He settles. So he thinks this job is going to be there forever. So men need to understand that these things, I normally tell guys, nothing belongs to a man in this world. Don't be comfortable. Don't assume that things are always going to be the same. But at the same time also, and that's why it's important to marry a woman who does not have a very high notch count. Get a woman who has genuine burning desire for you.
What is that? What's the notch count? A
notch count is a woman with a high notch count is one who has had several sexual partners. It also means that the kind of bonding you will have with her, her pair bonding abilities are compromised.
Superficial.
Yeah, so if it's superficial, then she can easily take off. But if you have actually bonded to her on a deep level, then you'll find that even though you can have a lot of, if you end up in trouble, she's not as likely to leave as a woman who is there because of other things. And that's also why we're also discouraging guys from using money. If you got her using money, when you lose money, she'll also lose her. Now, I want to give you an example. When you're talking about equal partnerships also, attached to this is the idea that you should marry your friend. There's a guy who contacted me recently, and what happened with this guy, he was in campus with this girl, and they fell in love. They were a year apart. So when this guy finished campus, he got a job, and later when she finished, she joined him. But she tended to be sort of a lazy kind of a woman. She sits around, she doesn't take care of the house and so on. And she was not applying for a job. So this guy took the responsibility of looking for a job for her. She eventually got a job. But now the job that she got, they were living in Dagoretti, but she got a job towards Mulolongo. So what she did, she moved. She said now she doesn't like waking up early because of the distance. So she moved now to South Sea. So this guy is living in Dagoretti, the wife, or rather the girlfriend, because they are not yet married, is living there. And this guy, the challenge he was having was that he was feeling when he comes, like when he's leaving for work, she's still sleeping. She doesn't want to wake up and make breakfast for him. So when he tells her, by the way, why don't you make for me breakfast, brush my shoes when I'm showering? She says, why don't you just do it yourself? And this is the problem now when people say you should marry your friend. A marriage is very different from friendship, because in a marriage you need structure and you need roles. This woman was not able to take up her roles as a wife because she was looking at this guy as her peer. She doesn't see this guy as an authority in that relationship. And now this guy was getting very frustrated because he doesn't understand how he can be providing everything for this woman, yet he has to come home, brush his shoes, make breakfast for himself and so on. And when she got a job, she moved out of the house and she's not bothered about how this guy is surviving. What I've seen in the past is that when a woman is not available to cater to you or to cater for you, she makes arrangements. Maybe she hires a mama fua to wash your clothes or someone to cook for you, or she cooks and refrigerates the food before she leaves. So those are some of the things guys need to remember. When you are dating, the dynamics are very different from when you are married. And that is why now this equal partnership, it may look very nice when you are dating, but when you're actually married, then you find the dynamics are very, very different. And I have seen situations where couples are not able to settle peacefully in marriage because either they started as friends or as peers or as equal partners. So you find as a man, it doesn't actually make sense why you're getting married if you are equal partners also. Because as a man, your roles, your traditional roles are the same. You are a protector, you are a provider, you take care of this woman and so on. But she's not willing to play her roles as a homemaker, to cater to you and so on. So those are some of the things guys need to bear in mind.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. There's some questions here for you.
You come back.
Okay. There's a question here. Shadrach Kosero, why is it getting so hard to marry woke women? Silas. The question has been sent to you.
Why is it so difficult to marry?
Woke women.
Just avoid them. The women who are not in that work framework. Because like the most important decision a man you can make is the kind of partner that you choose. She can make or break you. So go for the right woman and take those things about courtship, the engagement, take them seriously. And watch what she does, not what she says. Women normally say one thing and they do another. So that's something that men consistently get wrong. So I'm one person who will never advise a man to go after these woke women. They're never worth the trouble.
Okay.
Yeah.
Dan Ongechi, nice show so far. Thanks for educating us. Asante sana. Mwangi Samuel K tuned in. Invaluable conversation right there. All right. There's another question here. Moses Gitao. Modern women are now pushing for equality of outcome now. Let the duo touch on this. Pushing for equality of outcome. What is that?
Okay, we know what happened is that when women wanted equality was equality of opportunity. Now, when you say equality of opportunity, it means when there is an accounting position or vacancy, then women can apply the same way men can apply, and they can go for the interviews and so on. But women quickly realize that when you give them equal opportunities with men outcompete them. Because men are more aggressive, men are more outspoken, men are more articulate, men are better able to take up the burden of performance, men are more disagreeable. Like positions of leadership require disagreeable people. For example, if you are a manager and people are coming late, you need to be able to read the riot act. So many women will try and they say, Nani, please don't come late, it's not good and so on. But a man will tell you in a very firm voice that this is not going to be tolerated. So when women realize that men, they cannot compete with men, now the equality of outcome is actually what we call affirmative action. It's where we're talking about, like in parliament, they're talking about gender parity. I've seen this, and actually it's one of the things that really destabilizes marriages. You find a couple, they meet maybe in a bank as graduate trainees, and they fall in love and they get married. Many times when there's a vacancy in a bank, if the bank is observing gender parity, if there's a vacancy and they need 2 people, if from the interviews they've ranked, let's say they have 7 candidates and the first 6 are men, the 7th one is a lady, they'll give the first man and that number 7 because of gender parity. So it has made many women ascend quickly in their careers. And this is why you find places like United Nations, there are very many women in very high senior positions. It's not because they are competent, it's just because of gender parity. It makes them leapfrog over other men. And so that is what the liberal feminism fought for, and men, of course, gave them, because men also want to be seen as progressive. And what equality of outcome has done is that it has made it possible for women who are not as competent to be able to occupy positions that much more competent men could have occupied. But just because of their gender, they're actually given those positions. It is something that they still debate about it, but I think because of the pressure to be progressive, a lot of people have embraced equality of outcome, even at the expense or at the cost of merit.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Jared Kipkemboy wrote, what do men want out of a woman, Bwana Bitok? It's getting hectic on the traits. That seems confusing.
What do men?
What do men want out of a woman, Bwana Bitok? It's getting hectic on the traits. That seems confusing.
I think men just want a cooperative woman, a woman who listens, and she submits to a lead. I think that's the most important thing. We want cooperation. What people call submission. Submission sometimes is considered a dirty word. But I say what you want as a man from a woman is just her cooperation, and can she play her traditional feminine roles? Period.
Okay.
Yeah. Some people summarize it as the 3 S's. Sex, silence, and sandwich. Sex is obvious. Yeah. Silence is part of the cooperation.
Yeah.
Like, of course, women have, sometimes women rant a lot. We say that they have a quarter of speech per day. Like, they need to say like 20,000 words per day for them to be peaceful. So, and then the sandwich is just food. They want to be someone who can cater for them. If you have those, if you give a man those 3, a man is going to be a very, very happy animal. Men are very simple. Men are not very complicated.
Because for a man, what you want is a good environment that will make you attend to your job and perform at your best. So if you have a woman who does not create that perfect environment at home, then it means you're not going to be productive. If you're not going to be very productive, then it means you might even miss out on a promotion. Your business is not going to perform very well, So that's why sometimes you find the men who are very selfish tend to advance much faster. Because now they can even ignore the noise at home and just focus on what's at hand. Yeah.
What is important.
Exactly.
Okay, they have clarity of mind.
Yeah.
All right, Carolina, can alpha females be compatible with alpha males? Jacob.
That one is very easy. No. Nobody wants an alpha female. You have, you see what happens, and women really need to listen to this. A woman can be an alpha female, no problem. An alpha female here, of course, it's a misnomer, but they mean a woman who is successful. She's a boss bitch, as they call themselves, okay? She's a woman who is, she has a business, and she does not submit to a man. What will happen to that women like that? And you can see it, there are several here. Even you look at former Diamond's wife, I don't remember her name, Zari. You see, so what an alpha female is doomed to get is what we call a bum. Is a man who is either broke, is a irresponsible man. And typically they go for younger men. You see the way Rihanna did. He goes for Rocky, of course, is also a musician and he's doing well. But in terms of their scales, in terms of their success levels, this guy is lower in rank than her. So all alpha females are doomed to settle with a bum. And they get very frustrated. In Kenya, there's one who is very popular, who is a Luo lady. I won't name her. She's changed so many of these junior men, and she gets very frustrated. I think last week she was saying that she has realized that I think the only thing that men want is sex or something like that. Alpha women actually are doomed. They'll never find love because the men that they will get are not men who can arouse them. And remember what we said, women are hypergamous and they can only be aroused by men who are higher than them. So these men that they will get, and there's also one that is... I think we also know the one who divorced a musician. She was going out with the governor. She ended up with some other lawyer. She also broke up with them. So all these alpha females, you'll get a guy who is good looking, but he's a bum. You'll get frustrated and you'll drop him. So that is what will happen. An alpha male, on the other hand, does not want an alpha female. Alpha men want women who are submissive, women who don't have a high notch count, women who are cooperative, women who can enter their program. Okay? If I'm an alpha man and I'm a musician and I marry a woman, I want a woman who who is willing to support my music career. Not a woman who will start questioning me, why are you doing this, why are you doing that, and this music career business is bringing me a lot of issues and so on. So alpha men rather, want very submissive women, not alpha females. Yeah.
Yeah, you know, when you talk about alpha women, they tend to have very many masculine traits. And as a man, bana, ukienda date upate you're meeting a fellow man who's dressed as a woman, you run.
Talk and be a Murifa run.
Murifa, you have to run. But if she's alpha, but and I've seen some of them who are like that. If she's alpha, but she still has retained,
she's grounded,
femininity. Because you see, let's face it, in a marriage or in dating, we are trading utility. Like you must have some value of bringing to my life as a woman, and I must have some value of bringing to your life as a man. Now, alpha women, they can pretty much do everything for themselves, you know. So, and you know, success is like a poisoned chalice to women. The more successful a man is, the more options he has. The more successful a woman is, the less options she has. Because there aren't so many men at the top that she can pick from. That's when as Jacob said, now they have to marry or date below them. Yeah. Because an alpha man has so many options.
Yeah.
Unless the alpha woman really is bringing a lot of value to his life, which is exactly the case, because an alpha man is also self-contained. The kind of choices he has, like so many of them,
They're limitless.
They are limitless, yeah.
Yeah, I feel get it. Does the age factor influence equal partnership either positively or negatively? Jacob.
Yeah, age factor. I think we've talked about equal partnership. If the age factor, of course, influences a relationship, because all things being equal, and if you are a man who has applied yourself, you are likely going to be more accomplished than a woman who is younger than you. So it immediately puts you in a leadership role or position, because you have more life experience than her, you have more attainments than her. So that puts you in a leadership position. So, and that's why it's encouraged that men go for younger women, so that they can actually play their leadership role. Because a younger woman will see more value that you can give her than an older woman. So that is very true. If you find a woman who is, you have or equal age of or attainment, she's going to want an equal partnership, because she doesn't see why is it that you feel that you should be the leader and not me. So that's a challenge, and that's why the best way is to get a younger woman, a woman who can actually enter your frame, and a woman who can submit to your authority.
Okay. Fellow Bukusu, what are the repercussions of supporting your woman's dreams? Supposing she is more ambitious than you are at the workplace. Supposing she gets a job abroad. Should you follow her? And this is actually happening in the villages. There are a lot of men who have been left in the village. Wangoduma people lienda America, US, US, Australia, wapi. And this is a question by Bukusu. What are the repercussions of supporting your woman's dreams? Supposing she's more ambitious than you are at the workplace. Supposing she gets a job abroad. Should you follow her?
In Mario Puzo's book, what's the name of that book?
Godfather.
The Last Dawn, not The Godfather. There's a casino owner there who advises a young man, and he tells him there are two types of women that you must avoid at all costs. A woman who's more ambitious than you, and a damsel in distress. Those two you must avoid at all costs as a man. Because if a woman is more ambitious than you, she'll be very impatient. Especially a woman who's very driven. Like, you have to be twice as ambitious as a woman for it to work. But if she's more driven and she knows what she wants, then it can't work. But the other part of the question, where should you follow abroad? I'll say you can follow her, but know there are very high chances that when you get there, you'll divorce. But if there are more opportunities on the other end and you go and divorce and your life works out, the better. But it really works. It's easier for a man to go and pull the family than for a woman to go there and then pull the man there. It really works.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's just to add to that. This is why the men who are who are abroad have been disappointed when they get the kienyeji from Kenya, because these kienyeji women, once they go to the US, they are influenced by other women. So even a woman, if your wife proceeds abroad and then you are planning to follow her, the chances of that succeeding are not very high. Actually, they are pretty low. And it also means that as a man, she is taking up the burden of performance. The burden of performance, it's not negotiable. Guys need to realize that. You cannot expect to have a woman who is more ambitious than you, whose dreams are bigger than yours, and then you expect to have a marriage that is not full of discordance and tumult. So you as a man must be ambitious. You must always be creating more value than her. If she does that more than you, then you're going to run into serious trouble. So men must realize that this nothing comes easy for a man. They have to remember Jesus had to die to become Christ. Mm-hmm. There is no easy way for a man. And if you find a situation where you think that you will enjoy the sweat of a woman, then you're deluding yourself. Mm-hmm. Because women have evolved to such that they don't do very well with men who are actually enjoying benefits from their own sweat. Like I mentioned earlier, this is one reason we don't have house husbands, but we have housewives. They want men to be out there toiling, and then they enjoy the benefit. Mm-hmm. If you expect that you'll sit back and she struggles, she works harder than you, it's not going to work. Okay. Yeah.
All right. Mabiong Deng, first time a follower. Thank you so much. Finding the discussion quite intriguing. Good job, fellas. Thank you so much, Mabior Deng. Meema Mwamba, is there a definite way of discerning a woman's notch count? Kuna program, man.
That one we can only talk privately. We can't leak. But it's easy to know if you are a discerning man. It shouldn't be so difficult to. Nowadays, men are very open and very transparent about their sex lives, and that's a conversation you can have. In the past, I used to find like women used to hide these things, but nowadays, the more women I talk to, they're pretty open, because even to them, they don't really sort of like know the consequences of that. They think it's just we're living in a liberal, free world where anything goes. Yeah. So I know most men, that thing really, it keeps them awake at night. But I don't think whether it's such a difficult thing. Maybe we'll do a memo about it. Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, there's a way of, actually there are several ways you can tell a woman's notch count. And one way, of course, is her attitude towards sex. If she's very liberal about it. You know, we've evolved in such a way that sperms are cheap and eggs are expensive. It means also that there are many men who want to have sex, but a shortage of women who they can have that sex with. So a woman who is willing to sleep with a man is going to have a lot of opportunities to do that. You'll be able to tell from my experience in bed how she moves, whether she's the one guiding you or leading you, whether you're the one leading her. So in all likelihood, if she's the one leading you in the bedroom, she's more experienced than you. Also, the other thing is, and one thing I always tell guys, never ask a woman what her notch count is, because you'll never get a straight answer. And I think it's also shady to ask a question like that. So you'll tell from her behavior. You'll also be able to tell from these things come up in terms of the kind of relationships she has had, the number of relationships she has had. You can ask her. I think that one is valid. You can ask her if she's been in a number of relationships. That one she can give you an indicator. You can also tell from how people will talk about her. So try to get into her circles. Like if she grew up in a certain place, get to know who are her friends, and you'll get to know. You'll also get to know if she's someone who is drinking, for example, or even if she's not drinking. One day when she's in a very relaxed and open mood, you can just ask her, what is the wildest thing you've ever done? Sometimes some of those things come out. So it will tell you her level of impulsivity. And if women who are very impulsive will have, are more likely to have a very high notch count because they are not restrained. Yeah, so there are some indicators. Of course, you may not know the exact number, but there's some indicators. And for example, if a woman comes to your place without invitation, that will also tell you that this is a woman who is very available, and she's likely to have a very high notch count. Many women will want you to invite them to come to your place, and they also qualify themselves. This is something someone also asked me recently on Facebook, that what is qualifying herself. If, for example, you get to sleep with a woman on the first date, a normal woman who respects herself will tell you, hey, by the way, you're the first one I've done this with. This one, it's like you have a weakness for you. But if a woman comes and sleeps with you on the same day and says nothing of the sort, then it means it's normal for her. That will also be an indicator that her notch count is probably high. Yeah.
Njogo Mathenge, first time I plugged in from Seattle, Washington State. Thank you so much, my brother Njogo. Thank you for joining in. Keep coming back. The show is wonderful. I'm following for the first time. The society is full of better men. What remedy can be done to restore masculinity in our societies? I think that's the last round we took. Can I read it again for you?
Yeah.
The show is wonderful. I'm following for the first time. The society is full of better or soy men. What remedy can be done to restore masculinity in our societies?
I think it's what we're doing currently, where we're teaching men to unplug, to understand their value and their worth. We're also coming from a place where fatherhood, like most men, were unfathered, and that has contributed to the crisis that we're having. So these conversations are very helpful, meant to unplug, to take up that burden of performance, and also to have a purpose in life. The guys who just zoom through life without any power, and so each man has to identify their true north and pursue it, and develop yourself as a man. Usijiachilie ama you give up because of small shocks like bibi amekuacha ama umeshindwa na madem nini, so you can't focus. Yeah.
Okay. You have anything to say?
Yes, so absolutely. They need to get unplugged. They can read my book. Silas' book, 50 Memos to Men, is very good because it also carries a lot of wisdom, particularly in terms of how men can have situational awareness and how they can calibrate themselves going into the future. My book, Unplugged, is more about strong masculinity and understanding female nature. So one of the reasons why many men are weak also is because they don't understand what they are. They also don't understand women. A lot of feminist literature and media will tell men that women want nice men who are soft, men who pander to them and so on. But actually the opposite
men
is
who
true.
cook.
Yeah, men who cook, which is what we call chore play. They want you to play feminine chores and so on. And as you've seen now in our media today, and this is something Kibe has really talked about, we have our celebrities in Kenya. They are dressing like women, they are behaving like women, they are putting on makeup. You find even grown men are twerking. So we also have to be very careful about what we are getting from the media. And it's very damaging for our boys, our young boys, to be seeing grown men in beards twerking, shaking their behinds, trying to become like women. Because men are not sex objects, men are success objects. It would be much better if they're doing what Andute doing, showing off their Lamborghinis and so on. Because what a man is supposed to make himself valuable in the society, not make himself sexy. Okay? Because men have problems to solve. We have a lot of problems in this world, climate change, political problems, and so on. If men are going to start twerking, who is going to solve all these problems? Our economy has challenges and so on. So we need to understand the role of a man in the society. And that is one way of helping us to restore masculinity and getting rid of the weak masculinity that is being perpetuated or actually advertised in the mainstream media.
Okay. All right. I still want to remind you that this is Men Only, comes to you every single Sunday from 8 p.m. to 10 p.m. Silas Nyanchwani Kisiora, he is an author. He's done Sexorcised, he's done 50 Memos to Men. I think when they're on Man About Town. So you can get the books by actually reaching out to them directly, or you can call them or text them. Which was the number again? Please write your number.
0746 0746 222 484.
484. All right. That is Silas. If you want to get a book, please make an order. You can text him directly. Ama uweze kumpigia simu. Ama you can reach out to him also on his social media handles. The social media handles Silas Nyanchwani on Facebook. I think you're more active on Facebook, right?
Yeah.
Right. And also, our good brother Jacob Aliet has done Unplugged. It's also one of the amazing books that you will need to read as a man. You need to unplug. You need to unplug. All right. So, what's your number, Jacob?
Mine is 0716
0716
701
701
159.
159. Right. You can reach out to Jacob to get your copy of Unplugged. Now, I'm getting an urgent forward here on something that you want us to touch on before we call it a night. And saying comment Supreme Court on LGBTQ ruling.
Comments on?
LGBT ruling by the Supreme Court. That they are free to associate.
You know, this LGBT thing is just an unstoppable train. And for me, I'm just saying, like, the less we talk about it, the better. Like, if it doesn't concern you, just carry on with your life, because where the world is headed, pretty much it's normalized. And we can't be like the people who just want to bury our heads in the sands. I mean, these people have their nightclubs in Nairobi. They're having their own parties. They're even without the law giving them room to freely associate, they're doing that. They have a lot of funding, you know, the movies we are watching, the music we are listening to. There's so much of it everywhere. So it's just you as a man out to decide. If it's not your thing, just mind your own business and be in spaces that that you think are healthy for you. If it's not your thing, just let them be. There's nothing you can do, because that's where the world is. America's first lady just left the country. And it's one of the agendas that America has been pushing, and we are in that space, and I think it's just inescapable.
All right. Yeah, I tend to agree, but I also think that in not too long time to come, they will start rolling it back, because if you watched that documentary, What is a Woman, by Matt Walsh, I think. It shows you how much it's grounded in lies, and it's grounded in propaganda, not in reality, because there are some things, like ignoring the sexual organs of a boy and say that, sexual organs don't make you a gender. And we have also seen in sports, it's having very serious repercussions. So I think Silas has said, let it play out, and I think that even though it's being pushed by particularly feminists, I think in quick order they'll also realize. We had that case, I think, in the US where a transgender man was taken to a female prison. He raped so many women and made them pregnant. And such things, and then if you bring them in competition, in sports, you find that actually women cannot compete with men. So these genders, they're very, very distinct, and they're not fluid. We have so many cases where men who have been promised that they can become women, they have gone for hormonal shots, have gone for surgeries, and they find it can actually not happen. So I think we let it play out, and the equilibrium will be found. Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for joining us this evening. It was a pleasure to have you. Unless anyone has anything to shoot.
No, I think it's a great show. Till next week.
Thank you so much. The guys who have joined in as well, the audience who have been with us this evening. Someone guys suggesting that we bring in Andrew Kibe. I don't know. I've never spoken to him. Maybe Silas knows him or can reach out to him.
I've never heard any.
We'll see.
We'll try and reach out to him and see if we can have a conversation with him. All right. This has been Men Only. Comes to you every single Sunday, 8 p.m. to 10 p.m. with Silas Nyanchwani and Jacob Aliet of Unplugged. Until tomorrow on the Common Sense edition, bye-bye, have a good night, and see you. Bye-bye.